the future's aligned. Grab your coffee, let's take a ride. It's wealth and wisdom, time will ride. Optimistic, educated, sharing the wealth of things you should do. Plastic thinking, that's all of us. Your guide to work is money to trust. Blessing that secure it bright. Dreams take shape with every insight. Wills and assets, life insurance plans. Building for your future with expert hands. Silk house, money and more. Building a world with knowledge galore. Asset protection plans to grow. Dreaming and watch your dreams unfold. You think of today, you can life. Breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, making tips. We're here to help your fortune eclipse. The day today to transfer life. Breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, making tips. We're here to help your fortune eclipse. So tune in now, it's time to learn. So wisdom's your return. Invest, protect, and thrive for sure. Signing off the soul talks, money and more.
Good morning, good morning, good morning to our listening audience and to my YouTube live audience. Welcome to another edition of Soul Talks, Money and More. I am your host, Dr. Sabrina Edwin Williams, educator, author, and investor. Opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted. And I am so excited to be here this first Monday in January of 2025. Happy New Year to everyone. Got to get the show started this morning by sending a very special shout out to a few of my favorite people, those being my parents who celebrated 57 years of wedded bliss on yesterday. And on top of that, my mother celebrated another circle around the sun. I'm not sure if she would want me to broadcast her age, but I tell you, she's been around here for a while, and we are just so thankful to have both of our parents still in the land of the living. So just want to say again to my mom and dad, happy anniversary and happy birthday. Happiest of birthday to my mom. Also, have a good friend, childhood friend, who's been my ride or die for many years, who is all over the world protecting us, Mr. Jeffrey Bridges. If you're listening to the show from wherever you are, my friend, happy birthday to you. I had the pleasure a couple of weeks ago of running into a young man, and I know we often talk about our youth and just question the youth and where they are with their thinking and their actions, and just kind of wondering, is there any hope for our youth? I met a young man at Walmart there on Highway 25 by the name of Jaden Thomas. And I was so impressed with that young brother. He was very eager to listen to what I was telling him. And then I ran into him again at Dollar Tree about a week later. Jaden, if you're listening, Dr. Williams was very impressed with you, son. Keep your head up, keep your head straight, and to whoever his parents are. If anybody knows Mr. Jaden and you know his parents, please give them a pat on the back. They did a very good job with that young man. Train up a child in the way in which he should go. And they have done that. Now, lastly, I want to just say this next gentleman, he just wants to continue hearing his name on the radio. I'm convinced. Mr. Lee Clark has been my customer of the week many, many times. And I tell you, just when I think he has been knocked off the throne and we can put someone else on the throne, Mr. Lee Clark will send me another message saying, Dr. Williams, I need some more of those books because I am giving your books out to people who I feel need this information. So, Mr. Lee Clark, if you're listening today, I'm not sure whether you are or not, but you are again my customer of the week. And I certainly thank you for all of your support. Now, as we enter the new year, we know that many of us have made goals, and one of those being to do things to improve our health. And we have lots of different activities and events that will be kicking off in the new year. One of which I do want to just kind of share here on air, and encourage those in the local audience, local area to support, and that's the YMCA's Healthy and Alive event, which will be held at the Clinton YMCA on Saturday, January the 18th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, we will be supporting that event. We have some of our own WMPR's own Dr. Liddell will be there presenting information on health and tips for preventing some of the illnesses that plague our community. Also, Chef Charles, who is on the air with us on Thursdays, I believe, will also be there doing some cooking demonstrations to show us how we can, in fact, eat healthier, prepare our foods in ways that are nutritious, delicious, tasteful, and as well as healthy for our bodies. So we're certainly encouraging you to go out and support that event. That is the Clinton YMCA on Saturday, January the 18th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, as you heard this morning, we debuted our new jingle for So Talks Money and More. I hope you like that little jingle. Please feel free to give me some feedback on that. I am also approaching the new year, kind of changing up the format of the show a little bit. I would like to share some thoughts with you initially at the beginning of the show and then solicit your feedback. I'd like to hear from you on some of the things that we will be talking about. My goal is to certainly create more of a dialogue rather than a monologue. Of course, I do appreciate you listening tentatively to the things that I am sharing with you. But again, I would like to kind of hear some of your thoughts as well. I learned from you. I don't claim to know it all just because I'm an educator, just because I've done some things that you may not have done, but I feel like we can all stand to learn. And so for today's show, I've chosen a topic and I want you to just kind of follow where we're going. I've chosen to title this, What Are the Odds? You know, we like to gamble sometimes, we like to play the odds, but there are some things that I just want to share with you, and I want you to think about them. And once you think a little bit, I want you to call in and let me know what your thoughts are. For those of you that are joining us today by YouTube, please feel free to call in. I know we're having a few technical difficulties here in the station as a result of the storm, so we're not able to air the show over the radio. However, we know that we are airing over the internet. We're streaming over the internet. We're streaming on YouTube. So if you will, please give us some feedback here. So what are the odds? What are the odds? Did you know that roughly 50% of Americans buy a lottery ticket at least once a year? Typically, they buy the tickets when the jackpots are very, very large. When you have the mega millions or the jackpot enters the billion range, that's when you will find that people will purchase a lottery ticket. In fact, $113 billion was spent on lottery tickets in 2023. Not sure if the numbers are quite available this early in the year for the actual spend in 2024, but in 2023, we spent to the tune of 113 billion, and that would be with a B, dollars on lottery tickets. However, the odds of actually winning the jackpot, I'm not talking about the scratch off that you may win periodically, if you're one of the daily players. I'm talking about the Mega Millions, the big jackpot. The odds of actually winning the lottery is 1 in 300 million. 1 in 300 million. You are more likely to get struck by lightning than to win the jackpot lottery. Yes, the odds of being struck by lightning are somewhere around 1 in 15,000. 1 in 15,000. On average, about 270 people per year here in the United States are struck by lightning. And fortunately, only about 10% of them actually die as a result of being struck by lightning. So, what are the odds? The odds of winning the lottery, 1 in 300 million versus being struck by lightning. Meditate on that for a minute. Now, as we transition, let's think about something. You might not die as a result of being struck by lightning, even though the odds of being struck by lightning are quite higher, or your chances of being struck by lightning are quite higher than your odds of winning a lottery. But one thing that we do know for sure, two things for certain, the likelihood or the probability that we will at some point die is about 100%. 100%. Sadly, even with a 100% probability of death, only about 30% of us will actually take the initiative, take the effort to develop an estate plan. So that means about 60 to 70% of the adults in the United States of America will die without a valid plan for their estate. A paper written by some researchers at the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College entitled Wills, Wealth, and Race actually found that the odds of dying without a will are especially high among Black and Hispanic individuals, especially high in the Black community as well as the Hispanic community. The scholars also found that these individuals are not only less likely to have done some type of estate plan, but they are less likely to leave a bequest or a gift of meaningful size. So what did I just say? Let me repeat that in layman terms. We die, we don't leave anything behind. And when we do leave something behind, it is not very much. Now, interestingly enough, as I mentioned at the top of the show, my mother just celebrated a birthday on yesterday, and we were having a conversation, just kind of, how seniors typically do. They'll do some reflection and kind of share some things with you. And one of the things that she said to me was, I am so happy to see my children doing better than I did in life. I'm happy to see that because I firmly believe that each generation should do better than the preceding generation. And so while I can appreciate what she said, I wonder how that is supposed to happen or what significant contribution could be made on our parts to ensure that the generations that come after us are really positioned to do better than us. It's a lot easier when you have something to build on, when you have a foundation to build on top of. But when you're starting from scratch, oftentimes you may find that it is not all that easy to surpass the previous generation. So I have a question that I would like for us to consider for just a few minutes around that thought. We're talking about the odds, and we know that if we stay around here long enough, that at some point our number will be called, and we will have to leave this place called Earth and go on somewhere else. We know that. We've been told that. My question that I have for our listening audience today is this. If 60 to 70% of people, particularly people in the Black community, are not planning, are not putting together a plan for their estate, what's preventing us from doing it? I just want to know, this is not a critique. This is not anything to make anybody feel bad. In order to change something, you have to understand what the issues are, what is preventing something from happening. So, my question is, what's preventing us from doing it? Or do we even really understand the significance of not having a plan in place? That's the question that I have for you. My phone lines now are open 601 I'd like to hear from you. What's preventing us? What's preventing you? If you want to call in and give your name, you can. You don't have to. You can just call in and start talking. That's fine. But I'd like to know. Studies have shown that people tend not to plan because of a few different issues. So some of us don't like to think about our own mortality. That's a hard thing to really think about, that one day we're here and the next day we may be gone. We don't really want to face that. But my question on that is, by denying it and not facing it and not talking about it, does that not make it happen? I don't think so. We don't have to talk about it, but if we keep living, as my mom says, just keep living, it will come. Father Time will, find us all, and our number will be called. So is it because we don't want to talk about don't want to think about our own mortality? Perhaps it's because of the cost associated or the cost involved with getting our business affairs in order. Some people may think or may have preconceived ideas about how much it costs to get a will drafted versus how much it may cost to get a trust drafted versus how much it may cost to pay to even have land surveyed so that it can be divided properly. The cost. Are we not willing to pay the cost associated with getting our affairs in order? Well, maybe it's time. The process of actually doing the things that we need to do often take time. Time that we convince ourselves that we just don't have. We're too busy doing other things. We're too busy doing other things. So maybe it's time. I don't know. I'd like to hear from you. Is it time? Or maybe we really simply don't realize the importance, the significance of getting our affairs in order. If you die and you don't have your affairs in order, then who decides? Just think about that. You spend a lifetime working, you spend a lifetime amassing things. Many of us have so much stuff we can't even contain it all in our homes anymore. We have uh, gone out and secured storage spaces to store all of our stuff because we have so much of it. We go through the effort of getting a storage space because we want to keep our stuff, but we won't go through the effort necessary to determine what happens to our stuff when we are no longer here. See, we have have a caller on the line. Let me take this call. Let me take this call, okay? WNPR. WNPR. Caller. Hello. Okay. Let's see. I can hear you fine. Let's see. Is she on the air? No.
Is she wants you?
Yes. So how do we
Hang it up.
Okay, hold on. Caller?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for calling in to Soul Talks Money, and more so happy that you have decided to join the conversation. So the question that we are pondering this morning relates to our estates and what prevents us from taking the time and putting forth the efforts to put together our wishes for our estate. And my question is, why don't we do it? Or do we not realize the importance or understand the significance of not having an estate plan? And I thank you for calling. I'm ready to hear what your thoughts are, caller.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say the jingle, I love it. I love
Thank
the
you.
jingle.
Thank you.
And there are a lot of things that are in there. If you really listen, it talks a lot about those things that you emphasize on the show. Um, but more importantly, to your direct question, as I was listening to the show before you asked the question, what came to my mind was not what I originally thought I would talk about, but what came to mind was the fact that you use the term estate planning. And I think that conditioning in the Black community has been that when you hear the word estate, it's almost as if it is connected to people with a lot of means or a lot of money. So the term, maybe the terminology, estate planning, is probably where we need to start and to maybe speak to that in terms that people can understand, where saying estate planning versus uh, getting your affairs in order after you die so that your family is not left with a burden of trying to figure out what it is that you had, what it is that you would have wanted to do with those things that you've left behind.
Well, thank you. And that is a very valid point, which is why I wanted to open the conversation and have some dialogue. Because to your point, a lot of times people don't understand. And I would say, I venture to say that people within the Black community and the Hispanic community who are not by far and large taking the time to put together their plans, they may be under the impression that, hey, I don't have an estate. I'm not a wealthy person. I don't have a lot of money. So, no, I don't have an estate. Therefore, I don't need to put together a plan. Whatever happens, just happens. But we do know that there are so many uh, unfortunate circumstances that may result when people don't take the time to determine what happens to the things that belong to them. And so, caller, I'm just curious, do you have any experience or have you had any situations that you have personally dealt with, or that maybe you even know of that you would like to share with the audience related to the significance of not having an estate plan?
Unfortunately, I do. And it wasn't me, but a friend recently uh, who lost a spouse, and there was no plan in place, which left her in a situation of trying to figure out everything that was there. I saw the stress. I saw the not being able to breathe properly for the fact that trying to just get everything together to know what documents were in place, what monies or insurance policies were available. And so, yes, it's very important to have a plan, even starting out with just an advanced directive as far as what would you want in case you became incapacitated. Let's just say you went into surgery and it was a simple surgery that turned into something that was complicated. Well, do you have a medical directive for, do you want to be resuscitated? Um, and so the importance is there, but I don't think that we as a community really understand the importance until we are presented with a situation of what do I do now?
Mm-hmm. And that's, I thank you so much for sharing that. And over the course of the next few weeks, we are going to take a deeper dive into estate planning and what that all means and why it is so necessary and so important, particularly for our community. In as ways that you just said, just by not leaving the stress of having to make a lot of decisions on people who should be able to properly grieve during that time. And I don't think that we really understand the stress that we put on others. Now, I'm looking at the clock. I'm trying to be very conscious of my time. I do thank you for calling in this morning. And as I say to the listening audience, we certainly welcome your feedback. We are trying to kind of change up the format of the show because we want to hear from you. We want to know, as this caller has shared, because I've never even really considered that. And that's a very valid point that perhaps one of the reasons it's not getting done is that our people really don't understand the terminology. So thank you for calling in, caller. You have a wonderful rest of your day and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you too, Dr. Williams.
Thank you. All righty, all righty. I'm looking at this clock and my time is winding down. I gotta get out of here soon and make room for whoever will be following me. I'm not sure if that'll be Mr. Henderson. We got some interesting things going on here in the studio today. I just want to thank each of you for tuning in today. I know we are not on air today, but we're certainly here in the studio. We are streaming live on YouTube and on the internet. So we thank you for tuning in today. I invite you to follow me. Follow me on my social media platforms. I am so noted. That is IAMSEWNOTED. I am so noted on Facebook. I'm at I am so noted on YouTube. I am so noted underscore on IG. And remember, at the end of the day is going to end. The sun is going to set on all of us, and our estates will transfer with or without a plan. Don't leave your legacy to chance. Leave a legacy of choice. Trust me on this one. Thank me later. Join me next Monday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time for another episode of So Talks Money and More. Have a great rest of your Monday. Take care.
Rise and shine, so talks money, the future's aligned. Grab your coffee, let's take a ride. It's wealth and wisdom, time will rise. Mr. Educated to sharing what the things you should do. From trust to thinking, that's all a must. Your guide to what is money you can trust. Let's and assets, life insurance plans, building for your future with expert hands. So talks money more, building wealth with knowledge galore. Asset protection plans to grow, drinking and watch your dreams overflow. You say that today you trust for life, breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, making tips. We're here to help you fortune eclipse. You say that today you trust for life, breaking generational wealth divides. Healthcare directives, making tips. We're here to help you fortune eclipse. So tune in now, it's time to win. So wisdom's your return. Invest, protect, and thrive for sure. Signing off is your top money and more.
The views on the preceding show does not reflect the views of WMPR's management, staff, or.
Hello, I'm Timothy Henderson, your candidate for Jackson, Mississippi 2025. As one of my campaign pledges to you, the citizens, I have pledged to hear your voice. I'm humbled and moved by the pleasant and positive feedback that my team and I have been receiving. Your input is critical in helping me to shape my platform, my goals and objectives to ensure that I'm not just another candidate that makes promises and not able to deliver. This is also why I've already hosted an economic roundtable for people at that table with the right skill set to help with building the blocks necessary to address the lack of economic engines across Jackson, the lack of code enforcement, and the lack of quality housing. I'm Timothy Henderson. I can be found at the Jackson Medical Hall across from Piccadilly. My website is henderson-jacksonmayor2025.com. You can reach me at area code 769-235-8961.
Am I done? Am I done?